the real investment you make in the real sense is actually the investment in time. That is the time you spend educating yourself. You see, the last thing you do in that order is putting your money into the market. But people put money first, they now go to read later. But you should study first before you put your money. At least that education will take care of so many risks at that point. And then when the euphoria in the market is up there, you know why. When people are running away from the market, you actually understand. But when you do not understand, you will definitely make a wrong decision.
Hello, welcome to the Nigerian Investors Podcast, the unofficial podcast that tracks and reports on the activities of the Nigerian boss. My name is Mudi, and with my colleague Aye, we will be hosting this podcast. TNI Podcast is dedicated to stimulating a renewed enthusiasm among the general population with regard to the activities of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Ultimately, the goal of TNI is to see that many Nigerians from all walks of life, both at home and in the diasporas, become active participants on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Before we go further, we would like to place on record TNI Podcast is solely for educational purposes and not a replacement for professional financial advice. Let's begin. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Nigerian Investor Podcast, the show where we decode the markets, break down the jargon, and serve you your money gist with a sprinkle of suya spice. Now, today's guest, you better tighten your seatbelt because this one is not your regular money tweeter. He is a certified project management professional, a value investor, a real estate enthusiast, equity strategist, and a tennis fan who probably thinks stocks, charts are more fun than Wimbledon finance. He is the kind of guy who can break down any company's earnings report while sipping Zobo and still have enough energy left to tweet context-rich investment takes that will make you rethink your portfolio all before lunch. You may know him online as Adu Oluwatope, but to those who follow his investing insight religiously, he is the sensei of contents, the oracle of Twitter threads. The content is King Maestro himself. Ladies and gentlemen, grab your pens, your notepads, because you are about to learn, laugh, and possibly regret not following him sooner. Welcome to the podcast, Tope.
Great having me on the podcast, the Nigerian Investors Podcast.
Yes, you're welcome, sir.
So I'm not the regular Twitter person. I started to probably respond recently, and then I think a few of my tweets got people's attention, and I started to have different requests to actually even speak on podcasts. But anyway, I accepted to speak on you guys' podcast. So we can get started.
It's a great honor. Thank you. So let's get started from the roots. How did you go from IT and project management to becoming one of Nigeria's favorite content-driven investor on Twitter?
So I studied computer science, and all my life, everything I have done revolves around IT until I met my mentor, and then he introduced me years ago. That should be around 2008 or thereabout, to the stock market. And between that period, I was working with an IT research software development arm.
Okay.
At the time, they developed the enhanced payroll and pension management software for Nigerian Railway Corporation. I joined them as a supervisor to that project, and it was a big project at the time. And there was someone I met, a very valuable person into my career development as well, that actually advised me to get the project management certification, that it was going to help my career then. And then I registered for effective project management class, that's CPMS, Comprehensive Project Management Limited, owned by Engineer Bayo Adeola. because the woman kept telling me at the time that her boss was going to teach me and I would enjoy his classes and stuff, So I registered for effective project management class. One of the finest project managers in the country is actually Engineer Bayo Adeola. So I dug up his profile. And he was even the president of FIDIC then, Federation for International Development, something. Anyway, I registered, and from there I picked interest in project management, and then I went on to do the PMP class, and then I went on to do the exam after. Since then, I've been a global credential holder since that time. That should be about 14 years ago now. And then my interest in the stock market began in 2010. Even though I had bought into some public offers like First Bank, Japol, Cotstain, a few of them. And at the time I met my mentor, we just talk about these things. And then he asked me, "What are you doing now? What have you bought recently?" I'll tell him. And then in 2010, I realized he started to tell me that the volumes of what I had then would not cut it, that I really need to go in hard in the market. And then I started to research the market because 2008 I had lost money. The market crashed. A lot of what we bought, what we were asked to buy, a lot of the public offers flying around then had risen over 3, 4, 500%, and the share certificate was just there. We couldn't dematerialize, because there was little information available in the market at the time. So we just held on to it. And then when the share, price started to fall in 2008, everybody started to rush to dematerialize. And then these processes were slow. For instance, Costain, declined for all the way from all-time high of 85 naira to 5 naira, and then you still had your share certificate with you and all that. Anyway, to cut the story short, that didn't stop me. I wanted to find out who actually lost money in the market. So I figured that I was financially illiterate because I invested based on companies' popularity, trend, and things like that. And then that is not what investment is all about. So I discovered that I needed to start to invest in education first, which is you learning how to read financial statement, you know, constantly reading about great people that have actually done well in the market, what kind of books, they read and stuff. So that really got to me. And fast forward to 2014, 13, 14, I figured that my investment at the time, my dividend could afford me to fly to the United States to take a project management MBA with the Project Management Institute. I did all of that with my dividend, to pay for this course. So as at that time, I figured the importance of having to invest, and then having to invest is actually good and valuable companies that can really pay you good dividends over time. And from there, fast forward again to 2021, no, 2018, I bought my first real estate landed property in the GRA, and I left it because at the time I wasn't really a real estate savvy person. You know,
Mm-hmm.
a friend introduced me to real estate in 2015. He kept telling me about real estate because I showed him my portfolio. We were sitting at the bar, and then I showed him my portfolio, and the guy was shocked. He was like, "If you have this kind of money, you should be in real estate." I was like, I really didn't know how to go about it. And then I just did not understand what real estate was really about. So he told me my money was fake, that this thing is just on paper, and then anything can happen. I can lose it. I should take it out. So the guy was just on me. And then eventually I listened to him. I pulled out in 2018. I pulled out about 50% of my portfolio to get a landed property. And then I left the land, and then the guy kept telling me again that I needed to sign up with somebody to do a JV if I wasn't ready to build and all that. So he brought a company, and then I signed up with them for them to do the construction, and then we split on equity based. Like my land was my equity, and then they are going to construct. And then I think the sharing ratio was, 50-50. So I signed the contract in 2021, and they moved to site shortly after the time. But I realized after 6 months that they were still at the foundation. And then the kind of contract I signed had a milestone. So
Okay.
I went back to check the milestone and I figured that these guys, you told me you were going to be at the first floor by 3 months or 4 months time. And so I kept sending them letters, like trying to cite the contract portions like they were violating, and they didn't probably take me serious. And so I reached out to a lawyer to evaluate the contract I signed because I was also a rookie at the time in real estate. I really didn't have the kind of knowledge I have in the stock market. And then so the guy said the option for me was to terminate the contract because they've actually violated several sections of the joint venture agreement we signed. So I told him to proceed and then I engaged in fully. Anyway, we got the contract terminated in 2022 and I regained the possession of my land. But in between that time, I decided to study again that real estate shouldn't be a rocket science. I mean, why did they fail? And then I took it upon myself to get a couple of materials on real estate. There's this material I got, a real estate investment college. It's about 24 CDs, would take you through a real estate process from beginning to the end. And even at that was more theoretical though. But then I had good friends around me. I have a couple of friends in real estate at the time. So I kept speaking to them for advice. Okay, what do I do now? I just terminated. So another friend introduced me to another friend that had a property and then they wanted to do a JV. And then I made myself available that, okay, I would do this, even though I had no construction experience and all that. So I assembled a team. I had a consultant, I had I'm a project person. I assembled a team and then I signed the JV. And then I took the JV thing I signed to the bank. And then I took a loan in 2022 because it was actually a very big project to build a four fully detached building. And then that was my first project. Anyway, I took my documents and everything to the bank. I sat with a mortgage bank. They evaluated it, evaluated my asset. I submitted my stock asset portfolio and things like that. Anyway, I got the loan approved. And then I had my first real estate project in 20. Actually, the project actually commenced in 2023, even though I took a loan in November 2022. So the project, took off in 2023. And then uh, I finished the project in 2024 April. So I spent 10 months building 4, 5 fully detached.
Hmm.
And in the process, because I'm actually a very meticulous person, I personally project manage the project myself. And
Mhm.
I had a lot of people coming to the site. They like it. They like what I'm doing. They like my approach. They ask me all kind of questions. And then I discovered that over 35 people were interested in buying my buildings. And then I just had 4 buildings at the time. So that created the interest in real estate for me. I'm currently working on my second project in the GRA to build 5 units, three, two fully detached, and then 3 terraces at the moment. So that's where my love for real estate started.
Interesting. That's very interesting. You've had quite a journey since 2008, talking about costing.
Oh no, it's a
some
bad
people,
experience.
some people are not going to be happy hearing this because they cost some people a lot of money. And then you also mentioned First Bank. I
Yeah.
remember when First Bank IPO came out, it was around in the 20s, like 20 naira, 20 something naira. And if you look at First Bank right now, it's still in the 20s.
It's crazy, which is why knowledge is
Yeah. So,
very, very important in this market. I bought First
eh,
Bank public offer at 33 now. A
oh,
friend
really?
called me, yeah, I had a friend in First Bank. I knew nothing about shares. And then he called me and said that First Bank was offering their shares that I should buy. But because I respect a lot of my friends, I'm also fortunate to have actually had, I surround myself with good friends. So my friend was actually in IT risk audit of First Bank at the time, very smart guy. He said they will do well. I said, okay, how much do I put? It was like as much as I could afford. But then I didn't understand this thing. So I bought 2,000 units, just 66,000, you know. But then the share price actually went up. But the same thing happened because we had the paper with us, and we didn't know. I mean, no, I wasn't the only one. So a lot of us, we didn't know what to do with it. Do you get? So not until someone, again, my mentor, when I met my mentor, I said, "This is what I already bought, before." And then the guy was like, take it to your broker, let them dematerialize it for you. I didn't know that process. Do you get? So at the time my papers were ready to be dematerialized, all the shares I bought, they already dropped drastically. So which points to you having knowledge first before you invest. Once you have knowledge, you have nothing to worry about.
That's very important. I quite agree with what you just said. That is where this podcast comes in. That is where you are also coming, because there is a knowledge gap when it comes to financial education out there in the public. Most people, or would I say most financial analysts, they tend to focus on the HNI or VHNI, very high net worth individuals, and
You
neglecting the
won't, you won't
populace.
blame them because that's where they make their money from.
Yes, I understand. It's business, so I understand. And if you look at the level of misinformation in the public domain, you will be alarmed. I can tell you of that. Just some few months ago, I was on Twitter. Recently, Twitter has been, I think, because the market has been very bullish. A lot of players like you have been coming on Twitter trying to educate the public. So there is a little, I feel like there's a wave, there's a new wave coming in about financial education, about the stock market in Nigeria, the capital market in general. So things are currently looking bright. But some few months ago, I saw a tweet, and I've related this in a previous episode. So somebody was asking, he had a certain amount of money. He was asking for advice on Twitter where he should invest the money into in order for him to make some profit. A lot of the suggestions he was getting were not about the stock market. See, I was just scrolling, trying to see
Mhm,
if
mhm.
anybody would mention the stock market, and I just saw somebody that mentioned about the stock market and said, go buy Zenith Bank shares. I think they are about to pay dividend as soon as April 2025. And that's where the journey started. Like for me, and I opened the responses to that guy's comments. All were negative. Some were saying Jimovia is going to eat your money if you invest in the stock market. The stock market is a scam. My dad bought shares in 2008 and he lost his money. We can't even get the money back. This happened to my mom. This happened to my siblings. This happened to my friend that I know. So many negative responses. There was nothing positive. And that is when it dawned on me that, like, there is a huge gap here. People are so misinformed. And generally we as humans, we like bad news more than good news. You can be
Absolutely.
saying something positive all the time. People will not even care to pay attention. But just release something on social media about maybe one of the popular celebrities having an affair with somebody else, and that's going to be the news for
Let,
the next couple of days.
let
No.
me help you there. Let me help you there. You
Yeah.
see, that is why it unfortunately more Nigerians will be poorer. You know why? Because people spend time on things that does not bring value or that doesn't really add value to their life. People stay consuming negative news. But you see, I a choice years ago, to consume positive news. So even in my house, I would stay on Bloomberg channel for hours. I would stay on CNBC for hours. So I would not really know what is happening in that space because I choose what I consume. If you consume positive things, naturally your life will attract positive things.
Good.
If you consume negative things or negative news, naturally your life will attract negative things. So, and then a lot of our parents or the earlier guys in the market that had invested and lost a lot of money, they did not actually try to find out why they lost money. They gave up.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then they started to report bad things about the market. And then they tell you, no, Don't go there. No, which is why you hear people talk about Jimovia. Jimovia is, to me, is a big god in Nigeria. Because uh, a lot
He
of people don't
created
know.
wealth for people. He created an opportunity
It's
for people
a
to be
god. When I
wealthy.
say, you see, Zenith Bank, we all knew Zenith Bank way back. Look at where they are today. This guy has left the bank, is no longer the MD. The bank is still running. So, when people again can't actually attain what you probably achieve in life, instead of them to go and learn, then they start to report negative things about you. Why? What will a gym do with how much do you have? Do you want to invest in Zenny Bank or put in Zenny Bank that will move somebody like that? This is somebody that, without lifting a finger, go and check how many units of Zenith Bank shares he's holding and multiply by the annual dividend they pay. That will tell you the kind of person he is. So a lot of misinformation, has traveled beyond the good ones. And then a lot of people invested in the banking stock during the margin loan era, and people lost money. A lot of what our parents invested in at the time, or our uncles, they were overvalued. And then, which is why somebody like me, and then fortunate to have the kind of mentor, I have. My mentor, taught me a whole lot how to go through financial statement, how to make, investment decision, what to buy, how to analyze risk, and things like that. But a lot of people who put money in this market, they just want a quick fix. So they're not ready to burn, the candles, to actually, stay night hours to read about the company you want to put your money in. So that at least you're sure when the company share price is going up, why it's going up. And then when the share price is, falling, why the share price is falling. If you don't understand these things, you won't be able to make decisions.
And that's the problem right now because the market is buzzing and a lot of new entrants are coming in without the necessary education.
If you
And if
follow
they don't get this education, if the market tanks, maybe temporarily or something happens, because there will always be a bearish period, there will always
Definitely,
be a
anything that
bullish
goes
period.
up must come down.
Come down. So
It will go up again. So
if it
you're right.
happens, if it happens, most people are going to have their fingers burnt. And once it gets burnt, that is what will be trending. We said it.
Exactly.
The stock market is a scam. Look at what happened now. I just invested, and this is what is going on with my investment. And it's going to be another huge shock. So, focusing on education is very important.
What you're doing. If you want to go to the market, sorry to cut in here. Let me use this analogy. Now, if you want to go to the market, the stock market is the same as the food market. Just let's take a food market. You want to go there, you want to buy the finest tomato, you want to look for the freshest, you want to look for the cleanest. You have to take your time to search. You hold it, you check it, you turn it. It's the same way. You have to come, you have to flip, you have to go through the financials. You have to check. Somebody like me, I am more interested in statement of financial position of a company than your profit and loss account or your income statement, because I want to see what this company had done in the past, how you've been able to manage your debt, how you've been able to retain your earnings. What have you done? Then what are you planning to do next? We see figures, but people like us, these figures, they speak to us. But you need to take your time to go into the accounting explanatory notes to go and check these things there. They are written there, but a lot of people who put money in the market, people want you want to buy today. It's also possible. Then you want 30-40% appreciation, and then you want to get out. That's not investment. For me, when I'm researching a company I want to put my money in, sometimes it takes me over a year for me to be convinced that, okay, I want to put my money in this market. In this particular company. So the real investment you actually make in the real sense is actually the investment in time. That is the time you spend educating yourself. You see, the last thing you do in that order is now putting your money now into the market. But people
Good.
put money first, they now go to read later. But you should study first before you put your money. At least that education will take care of so many risks at that point. And then when the euphoria in the market is up there, you know why. When people are scared, when people are running away from the market, you actually understand. But when you do not understand, you will definitely make a wrong decision.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're strong in your education, I keep talking about it, even to my own friends. I try as much as possible to put them through. I studied computer science for crying out loud. I never had an accounting class. I just listen when people talk those days, especially my mentor. I mean, when he says something, I would ask question. And then if it's not clear, I will take it to another friend that I know. I mean, I have friends that they don't even invest in the market, but they are genius in their respective field, especially in finance. So I just take it to
Mm-hmm.
them then. Oh, please, what is this? What does it mean? Then I will relate it to the market. I will relate it to the company. So it gives me an inside view into what these market operations look like. Even when the company is not correctly priced, I know that investors are coming to actually appreciate this company later, which is even one of the ways to actually spot good equities early.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. I like the direction this conversation is going because I see so many people, they've been requesting for you to enlighten them about the market. And I'm so much happy that we're using this medium to really uh, pinpoint on the first thing that should be done: education. Like what you said, the last thing anyone coming into the market, the capital market, not just stocks, if you want to go into maybe involve yourself in bonds,
Those
treasury
debt
bills,
instruments, all the debt
yeah,
classes, commercial
if you
paper,
want,
TD,
yes,
just understand it first.
before you put your money,
Yeah,
that's just the bottom line. If you are a Christian, if you read the Bible, they say the conclusion of all things is fear God and keep his commandments. That's everything that the Bible has been talking about. So when it comes to investing, everything that we've been talking about, everything that we've been trying to buttress on is just the last thing you should do should be when you actually withdraw your money from your bank account and
yeah.
you
So you're convinced
invest
at
it.
that point that okay, I've checked all I need to check. I've studied the banking.
Franchise.
I've studied their financials. I've looked at their board management composition. I've looked at the guys on the board of these companies. I've listened to them. I've read a couple of things from them. I see that they have vision. You need to check that. You need to check you need to check corporate governance. I don't put my money in companies that lacks good corporate governance. For instance, these are things you would learn later. I mean, that figures will not do, but experience in the market will teach you. Companies who report their financials late into the market, I don't put my money in such companies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, over the years, I design some level of, I mean, some set of principles to guide me to make my life easier in the market. There are companies I don't touch their financial statement. I mean, for instance, Owando released their Q1. I mean, this was a company. The first time I invested in Owando, I bought Owando at 65 naira years ago. And then this company looked promising then. And then the share price went to about 219 naira. But because I already formed in my head that the winners in the market are the people who stay longer. And then
Yeah.
so I stayed. And then the price dropped again, to probably 30. I can't remember now. They did a right issue and then they wanted to raise money to acquire ConocoPhillips assets. Go and read about the story for $1.6 billion. But because I was not at the time, I was not financially savvy.
Mm-hmm.
A company that was not worth $1.6 billion or whatever. I mean, that asset to me, I felt was too big for them to acquire. We expected Oando to invest at the time in refineries. I mean, that would have fetched Oando more money today, but they chose to acquire ConocoPhillips with the money they raised. And then oil price fell after that time. Oando was a mess. And then they came back to raise money. The Mumumi, I still bought into the public offer or whatever they did again. I bought their public offer like 3 times. And then I told myself, no, hell, I'm not going to this company again. I mean, so yesterday, some guys reached out to me to analyze, to break Oando down for them. I asked them the first question that why are you here? There are so many good companies on the NC. That's the truth. To me, they have a bad management. To me, I mean, I won't put my money in any company that has successive negative equity, shareholders' equity. It means that shareholders' money has been eroded in this company, and then people are still putting their money there. I mean, so you can see what knowledge, what financial exposure and knowledge will do to you in the market.
So what you just said now is another thing that people need to understand. The very first guy that we brought on this podcast for interview, we asked him, what are the red flags you look out for in any company before you invest? The first word that came out of his mouth, negative shareholders equity.
I don't know the guy. I mean,
And when he said that, I was like, wow, that was interesting. Because as a company, you should be growing uh
you should grow
your
my money for me. My
yeah,
equity. Let me tell you, sorry, let me
no
explain this.
worries. Go ahead.
Let
This
me
show is for you. Just go ahead.
Don't worry, let me explain this. You see, equity, let me explain the concept of equity. Now, if I set up a company, I might decide to approach the bank to take a loan to finance my operation, or I might decide to raise debt equity, meaning I will be indebted to those people forever,
Mm-hmm.
meaning I am going to raise money publicly. That's public debt. You see that equity, right? Which is
Mm.
why some school of thought will say that is it even worth it in the long run if you raise equity rather than going to take a loan from the bank. Now, if you raise equity, the onus is on you to make sure that you protect that fund. You
Yes.
ensure that that fund yield for the guys that have submitted their equities to you in form of buying your shares, which is why a very important metric when studying financials is return on equity.
Mm-hmm.
So your return on equity, which is the shareholders fund, can actually be negative or positive. So if you have a negative shareholders fund or negative equity, sorry, negative equity, it means that my initial equity in the company has been eroded. I don't know if you understand what I mean. It
Yeah,
means
I
that
get what you're saying.
there is nothing for me as a shareholder. I mean, some of these companies can actually be repaired, depending on how promising the company still looks. They can raise money again and then tweak a little things and then get, some good management guys to manage the company out of that crisis.
Yeah, there are so many companies that have done that in the past. If you look at Lafarge, there was a time when they were, especially their South
Yes.
African,
Don't worry, I invested in Lafarge. Yeah, I'm heavy
yeah,
there,
so
yeah. They had a
yeah, there
loan
was
of
a time
about
it was crazy.
$300 million. Their sister
Yeah,
company, Carry,
yeah, yeah.
Cement BV, one Egyptian. Anyway, look at what they did now. But because, let me tell you, because I looked at the management of Lafarge at the time, because I also advise people who also, use all these apps to trade. Anyway, I mean, a lot of people trade, they actually don't invest. But I advise you now, if you invest, you should actually open a proper stockbroking account where you also have relationship with your stockbrokers so that they can also probably guide you or advise you. I had a long conversation with the MD of my security house at the time, and we both looked at this company you just mentioned now. They explained what they wanted to do with the money, and then they raised fund. I bought the right issue, and then they were able to turn the fortunes of the company around. But you see, because Lafarge has great management, not every company can turn the tide around, can turn these things
Mhm.
around.
Yes.
You know, just to buttress your point, not every company can actually turn it around. So experience will teach you how to actually pick these companies over time.
Um, yeah, so what you said is just the plain truth. Now, let's focus on these new investors because we get a lot of questions from them and we see that most of them they don't really understand what they are doing. And you also on your end, you've been having a lot of people showing interest in what you're doing and they want to know more. So it's just an open question. How would you advise someone who is interested in the capital market? What are the things you will advise a person on doing so that they will be able to get it right from the get go?
So if you notice my tweet is actually most of my tweets, they're actually like my experience, like what I've learned over the years. They are now my process asset. I because I tweet more these days, some guys, they make me tweet more these days. I now document my thoughts. I try to look back, my mistakes, what I did to correct my mistakes then, and all that. If you look at my tweets, they're just what I've experienced. You see, people like us, I got my fingers burnt first
Mm-hmm.
before going to learn that I needed to actually understand how the market works. So what I would advise newbies or rookie investors, the number one thing is seek financial knowledge first. I keep talking about it. I invest, I do not trade. I don't look at charts. I am not interested in price of an equity. Those are not what I look out for. I mean, when I log into the market like 9:30, the market opens to the public by 10, but you can put in your mandates by 9:30 if you want to be on top. Anyway, seek financial knowledge first. Read a lot about people that have actually succeeded in the market. Read about what they are doing or what they do. I think this podcast is for people who invest and not people who trade.
Yes.
Okay, because my life is centered around value. I mean, I don't trade. Yeah. So define your investment goal first. In fact, that should be the number one thing.
Okay.
So when you define that goal, right, you can now center every other thing you do around the goal. If your investment goal is a medium term, if it's a long term. So if it's a long term goal or a medium term goal, you now play your game around that. Like, how do I mean? You now study companies that can actually fulfill your goal for you. How do I mean? You study companies that are currently doing well, and then are likely to do so well in future, are likely to do well in the next 3 years, are likely to do well in the next 5 years. And then you constantly evaluate this company's fundamental to know if you still have to be in the company or not. Once there's a major fundamental shift, then you go back to your investment goal. Will this align with my goal? If it will not align with my goal, then I will need to exit this company at this point to go and look for another company that can align with my investment goal. I don't put my money in companies that does not align with my own investment goal. I am a long-term investor. If you check my previous tweets, I've been holding some stocks for years. The first time I bought Total like 2010 or 11, and I've been holding it. I was buying GT Bank at, some ridiculously low prices, and then like Zenith Bank, for instance, I bought into the Zenith Bank at about 13 or 14 naira, and Zenith Bank has been so consistent every year. In fact, all these companies, GT Bank, Zenith, they used to do bonuses. Imagine people who bought these companies 15 years ago, and then they've had series of bonuses. That's, let me quickly explain bonus issue. Bonus issue is when the company decides to reward investors rather than, in fact, some company can decide to pay dividend and then still reward you with a bonus issue. Bonus issue means that the share outstanding will increase, because if you do a bonus of, say, 1 for 4, that means for every 4 you have, you get 1 additional shares. And then if the company's existing share outstanding is 1 billion, for instance, it means after the bonus exercise, the share standing will increase by 250 million in a ratio of 1 to 4. So a lot of these companies, they have the power to generate more revenue to mask the increase in share outstanding in the long run. So if you invest in some of these good companies, you discover that you just need to go and sleep. And then your money, will work the magic for you. But then if you look at some of those companies, you realize that right now, because they have bogus share outstanding already, they don't even issue bonuses again. So they just do high dividend payouts, which is still very good. I mean, a GT Bank paid 8 naira out last year. Some people bought into that bank at probably even less than 14 naira. The bank is currently doing 83 or thereabout, and then they are likely to pay another 8 or 9 naira out at the end of this financial year again. I mean, that is how to invest. That's how to grow your money.
Yes. I actually bought it when it was 17 naira. So
Fantastic. I mean, that's a great
and
investment.
that then many people were dumping the shares because I think they were having some issues then. But I seriously believed in the bank because I looked at their financials and I studied it. Like you said, I started in the market in 2007 and I also came in blindly. A friend told me to get into the stock market. Unfortunately, today, that friend, I'm trying to get him back into the stock market, but he's not interested anymore. But he actually got me into the stock market. And I got in blindly and I lost my money and I left. I had a bitter experience, but I came back trying to learn what went wrong. I asked myself that question. What went wrong? What did I do wrong? Why did I lose this money? And I realized that I invested blindly. I just went, oh, words of mouth. This company is good. This company is going to turn your money into millions. Just invest in this company, and in no time you'll be a millionaire. So that's what happened to me.
You follow the bandwagon effect.
Yeah, I followed the bad wagon. So it was the rave. So I just did that. So and I lost my money, and it was painful because it was my savings. And but luckily I came back. In 2013 I came back and I was
Exactly.
okay. Let's see what went wrong. Let's see what went wrong. And I started reading about the stock market, following news. Nairametrics was very good to me then. It was very helpful because I was studying Nairametrics and I decided to make the website of the Nigerian Stock Exchange my second library, online library. I go there all the time, look at the data session. The website has changed a lot these days, but back then you see the financial report, the dividend history of these companies. You can see it as far back as like
Good.
the past 5
Good.
years. So you see the companies that were paying dividends, the companies that were not paying dividends. You can also read their financial statement. So I was reading those financial statements. I didn't really understand it at first,
If you
but
make your Bible, you would
but with each time I
investment would be
go
so
back
much
there,
easier.
I learn something new. And if I learn something new, I follow
In
it up.
fact, even beyond stock market, if somebody pitches something fresh, a fresh investment to you, you're interested in the numbers. You want to see
Yes.
what they can do. It is only going through these financials, either it's a forecast, whatever you have to go through it. You have to learn it. And people need to learn these things, and they are not difficult. Trust me, they are not difficult. If you notice my tweet, I tell people come to me, I should recommend you stocks to buy and things like
Yeah.
that. And then I will reply you that how about I teach you how to go pick these things yourself?
Yes.
Because you won't need to come back to me if you know how to pick, which is you going through those financials. And then other things you will learn in the market, it's the experience I will now be teaching you. But at least the safest thing is actually to make sure that you're investing in financially sound companies. And it's only when you go, through the financial ratios and metrics, which you are going to find in the statements they quarterly release. That is the only thing to me that I know will help you.
So because someone is coming to you, what most new investors they don't realize that's what they do is, oh, Tope, give me fish. I'm hungry. Give me
You
fish.
know,
And now you're
no,
saying, let me teach you how to fish so that next time you will not
no.
come to me to ask for fish.
For
Let
instance,
me teach you how to fish.
if you check one of my tweets, I did an analysis on Okomo and Presco, and some of the guys that actually propelled me to tweet more. I asked one of them because some are in my DM. I take out time now to send VN to them to explain to them what they need to learn and things like that. So I asked one of them after my analysis that okay, which company do you think is cheaper between these two companies,
They
Okomo
said, Okomo.
and the Presco? I think at the time, Presco was doing, I think, probably nine something. I can't remember now. And then Okomo was around six something or so. So the guy picked Okomo as cheaper, in his own comparison.
Yeah.
And I smiled and then I explained to him that Presco is actually cheaper. And then I told him what to go look out for in trying to find a company that is actually cheaper, especially if you're comparing them in the same industry you know. So for me, which is why I said earlier that price of an equity does not necessarily matter. What matters is after going through the financials, and then you can make an informed decision to know whether this price is fair or not. And then it is the PE ratio of these companies that will tell you. The lower the PE ratio of a particular equity, the cheaper that equity is.
So, we're looking at some financial metrics right now. You've talked about return on equity. You just mentioned P ratio. You've talked about bonus as well. You've talked about dividend. What other metrics do you think new investors should learn and understand in their
Okay.
investment circle as they go on with their investments?
So if you're looking out for financial metrics or ratios, for someone like me, I'm more interested in your earnings because uh, your earnings will tell me how much you can pay me as dividend. Yes. So the higher your EPS, that's earning per share, the higher or the higher the dividend they would most likely pay, because if the company doesn't make money, the company won't be able to pay the shareholders. That's one. And if the company has a great EPS, it automatically or most times will drive the share price because as at that time, the discerning investors would be looking at the ratios and then be comparing the ratio, be checking the ratio as to what the price, is on the market. And then at that point, you can determine if the share price is actually fair or not. For instance, Glass share price has been flying, right? I'm sure you know about that.
Yes.
Okay. So better glass share, price moved from about at some point maybe 80, maybe 90, I can't even remember now, to over 300 naira yesterday. Why? Better glass released a Q1 with an EPS of about 16 naira. 16. So if you look at that and then you try to compare their Q1 results in 2024, I think the their earnings was over 100%. I mean, if you look at that. So that is an indicator that this company is actually doing well. And then you now try to look at it over the next quarters, Q2, Q3, Q4. If Better Glass, you now tell yourself or ask yourself, if Better Glass continues to perform this way, you analyze the EPS. If you analyze the EPS, that means you're multiplying the EPS by 4. So this is how an investor thinks. You want to multiply the EPS, you want to analyze it. So you now tell yourself that Better Glass at the end of this financial year is likely to report 64 naira as EPS to return
Mm-hmm.
64 naira to shareholders. Now, the next question you are going to ask yourself is if this company performs incredibly well, like what they did in Q1, if they repeat it over the other quarters, the next question is will Better Glass share price still be at 90 naira? For this conversation, let's pick 90 naira. So you're now looking at the annualized PE ratio, 90 divided by 64. So the PE ratio of this company is 1.4x,
Mm-hmm.
meaning if you invest in this company at 90 naira and this company continues to perform this way, it will take you less than 2 years for this company to actually return, back to you. That's a fantastic investment at 90 naira. So a discerning investor will want to consider such equity. I've discussed PE ratio now, I've discussed EPS. Now, somebody like me, I love statement of financial position so much. I want to see the company's efficiency, operational efficiency. Your statement of financial position tells me more about that because now I want to see your cash and bank balances. I'm not so interested in your current asset. Like your current inventory because I want to walk the company through their working capital cash flow.
Okay.
Now, working capital life cycle goes from probably you take a loan or maybe you raise money from your existing shareholders or whatever it is. Anyway, to get a raw material, from raw material, it moves to production. From production, it moves to finished goods. From finished goods, it moves to sales. From sales, then cash to the bank. That's the cycle. So
Yeah.
you have to efficiency. Your quick ratio number tells me about your liquidity that you as a company being able to meet your financial obligation within the fiscal period. So you will need the cash and bank balance to check the organization's quick ratio. So you will see that under current asset. So I mean, I've moved to statement of financial position now. So I'm more interested in things like that. So I want to see if you've been able to actually sell a lot of your goods and convert them to cash for me, because at the end of the day, it's all about money. So I'm interested in that. I'm interested in your net asset. Your net asset is when you take out your liabilities, your total liabilities minus your total asset, which is what is now called shareholders equity. Now, what else do you need to look at? I mean, there are so many financial ratios that you can look at. You want to look at your debt to equity ratio. There are so many, but I can't. Those are the few ones I can remember now. Then you want to go into the cash flow statement. That tells you the future cash flow this company is likely to generate. So I also like companies that generate a lot of cash flow. That is where I put my money. That's the type of company I invest in. So you can see where I'm coming from now. That I've been hammering about understanding financial statement because if you understand it, these things will be easier to you. Then you'll be able to compare company A and company B. And then you'll be able to discern which one you're going to put your money at the end of the day. For instance, let's compare Wando and Aradel. This
Okay.
is this is not an investment advice. I mean, I don't even have another screen in front of me to check their financials. But on the top of my head, I mean, I analyzed the Moando yesterday to some group of people. I know in my head, mentally, because I'm used to the market. I mean, I have some of their figures in my head. I would rather put my money in Aradel because I don't like Wando's statement of financial position. Aradel is a well-managed company. So for me, the balance sheet tells all. The statement of financial, it tells me the financial health of the company. I mean, Oando took a senior secured loan of 7 and something million last year to acquire assets. A senior secured loan. I'm sure you know what that means. Now
Yes.
they took another $300 million or thereabout, and I have plugged the $300 million, even though the money has not hit the balance sheet yet. I'm sure the money will hit the balance sheet in their Q2 financials. So I plugged it in, and I've seen that this company is still far from where it ought to be. I'm not ready to wait for somebody to toy with my money. I want to put my money in where there is clarity. So these financial metrics will guide you to where you will even show you where you're going to put your money at the end of the day.
That's deep. That's deep. What about profit margin? Do you look at profit margin when
Oh,
you analyze the company?
yes, I look at your profit margin, but a net income statement only tells you what the company is doing currently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's pick Presco for instance. Okay, I made a tweet about my investment case in Presco. When I saw Presco's audited, they released crazy numbers. I didn't believe the numbers. I was like, so a Nigerian company can actually do this in spite of naira devaluation, in spite of fuel subsidy removal, the macroeconomic headwinds that we suffered, during that period. That spurred my attention to Presco. So I took a night because I usually analyze, financials at night because I'm busy during the day on other things. So I took 2 nights to look at Presco. As at the third night, when I started to look at Presco, the share price was 200 naira. Presco continued to gain 10% from 200 naira to 220 until it got to 270. And the third day, I made up my mind that this is a company I needed to get into. Why? This company reported, I think, about 32 naira EPS and declared total dividend payout. I think they paid an interim of about 2 naira earlier, and they declared 24 naira or thereabout as their final dividend. And then I told myself that if this company continues to perform this way, at least I'm buying into this dividend period. I will get 24 naira out of my money. And then I checked Presco's balance sheet. And then I looked at Presco's margin. And then I was like, no, this is a buy. So I got into Presco. I think I bought about 60 or 70,000 units at two something. And then boom, Presco came with a Ghana Palm Oil Development Corporation acquisition. Presco released an official statement to acquire Ghana Palm Oil for $125 million. Again, Presco shares continue to fly. I mean, I didn't get in the first day I saw it. I digested the news. I wanted to know the implication of that acquisition on their balance sheet first. So that day, in fact, that same day, my mentor reached out to me over the phone and asked for my opinion about the implication of that acquisition. Even though he
Mm-hmm.
had his own opinion, because you know these are geniuses. I mean, he's a genius actually. He has over 30 years experience in the market and all that, and then he's a chartered accountant. He owns an auditing firm. He's a former retired director of finance. In one of top
Okay.
Nigerian corporations. So you can imagine somebody like that experience. So when he reached out to me over the phone and then asking me about the acquisition implication, and then I dived into the balance sheet. I looked at Presco's asset at the time, and I plugged
Yeah.
in. I plugged in a debt. I I converted. Yeah, I converted the $125 million. I assumed that okay, they will possibly raise a debt to finance this acquisition, even though they actually did not release a statement on how they were going to go about the acquisition in terms of payment. So I quickly plugged the number into their balance sheet to see the impact of the debt on their statement of financial position at the time. So I told him over the phone. Then he told me, he said, this company has the capacity to buy this company. And then what do I need? What else do I need? The next thing is for me to get into the company. And then they now released something that a lot of people will not read. They now release that Ghana's Palm Oil Development Corporation, their finance forecast. I saw the forecast. I plugged the forecast one after the year after year. I added it. I consolidated their account myself. I consolidated even before Presco actually consolidated. If you go to their audited financial statement 2024, if you read the explanatory note, you will see where the date they consolidated the financial account of Presco and Ghana Palm Oil together. Do you get to now form the
Yes.
group? Now, even when they had not done that, I plugged the forecast in. I consolidated the forecast into their existing account. And I saw the fantastic revenue, the fantastic return this company is likely to generate in the next couple of years. That was an investment case for me. I mean, it's a no brainer. I needed to go in with all I had. In fact, as at that time, I was so fortunate that I just finished my real estate project. So I had enough liquid. So I went in all. So after that, I bought the company again at 300, at 350. You can see how fundamental of that company kept shifting, and I kept following the fundamentals. I kept following to check, is this company still undervalued? As at that time, my mentor and I agreed that this company was actually undervalued. So
Mm-hmm.
we went in with a lot of money, and then Presco released um, audited the audited result, returned 76 naira to shareholders and decided to pay 42 naira out. Imagine an investment of 300 or 270 naira giving you that kind of return in 1 year. So this is how to invest. This is how to build an investment case. So I'm not surprised today that Presco is selling at 1,000 or 1,002 or whatever price is selling. You can see when I say that I am not interested. Have I discussed pricing with you? Pricing of an equity. I'm not interested. An average investor looks at the share price of an equity. A discerning or an experienced or a great investor looks beyond price of an equity, is interested in the correct valuation of that equity at the time to make a decision.
Word.
Yes. Which is why if a company is trading at 5,000, I am not scared of the price. It doesn't bother me. No, I will go and check my metrics. Does this company justify this price? I mean, does the company's current financial metric, does it justify the price? What is left in this company? can this company continue to grow at this pace? What is their expansion story? Expansion means more revenue at the end of the day. A good example is Seplat. Seplat was about probably 1,000, probably 2,000, I can't even remember, a couple of years or less than 2 years ago. But this company acquired mobile upstream assets, I think $2 billion or thereabout. Now, the combinational effect on their financial account, you can see they were paying quarterly dividend last year and all that. Where is Seplat share price today? It's above 5,000. But if you look by the share price alone, I said that company was expensive in less than 2 years ago, you will miss out. That is not how to analyze. So don't look at the share price. That is a rookie way of doing this investment thing. I told people, if you see my followers, I try to educate them on these fundamentals, on these things to watch out. If you check my tweet, I made a tweet yesterday, and I still told people that Presco as at yesterday was still cheaper than Okomo. But Presco is still currently trading above 1,000. So if you look at the price alone, it's not enough to say these companies, this overvalued, is undervalued. I mean, you won't get it. People are buying Berkshire Hathaway shares, Class A shares,
Yeah.
over $700,000 per unit. Do you think they are crazy? You think they don't know what they are doing? So if you look at price alone, you will lose. If you say it's expensive because you're looking at the face, what the price is saying, you will lose. So you need to look inward. You need to dive in deep into these company statements, financial statements, to be able to make that decision.
Thank you so much. Price alone, you will lose if you look at that. That is a very interesting take. Most times we look at the face value of these
And
equities
what
and
the
just
company is likely to do in future. That is another is an intangible asset that you can, in valuing a company, even beyond all these metrics, there is the brand equity that you also have to consider, because
Mhm.
brand is money. So their goodwill, their how appealing is this company? There's so many things, but experience will now teach you these other factors that are not, included in their, financials. I just thought I should quickly add that.
Okay. So do you sometimes find value in unpopular stocks, or should we just say follow the green
Absolutely.
candles?
No, absolutely. Let me tell you, there are so many stocks that weren't actually popular that at the time I got into them. I remember when I
Okay.
when I bought into NASCON, I bought NASCON at 6 naira. Today is 17 naira, although I don't even have it any longer. I mean, there are so many stocks that, I mean, in fact, that is even the best time to actually get into an equity when it's not popular. Because when the company becomes popular, you know, it becomes a trending matter and everybody is now going there, and then, the share price will continue to fly, and then, people will forget valuation, and then people will join they'll
Yeah,
join the
the
ride.
bad wagon. Yeah.
Exactly, so, but I like to get into, company, or I like to buy shares when, it's not flying, when the market
When no
is,
one is watching.
yeah, when there's lull in the market, honestly.
Yeah.
The market has been flying in the last couple of days. I just, when I have time, I log in, I check, I laugh. I haven't been buying shares. Trust me. Even though it runs in my blood. I mean, all through this year, between January to March, April, before this, market started to jump, I buy shares every week, no matter how small. I look at my portfolio, I check the one that still has value, that I can still add to. I just, you just keep adding to it. You just keep
Yes.
adding. And then people ask me about exit strategy. I see my some of my followers, they go to my DM, they ask me different questions. I only exit when there's a major fundamental shift in that company. And then I exit for a better opportunity, because
Yes.
sometimes I do asset reallocation. I reallocate my assets. Okay, let me chip this in. I put a tweet out probably last week or earlier this week that keep significant amount of money aside as you invest, so that, because the market will present you with golden opportunities to buy into companies that are actually ridiculously good, great companies at a very low price, especially when you have a major market disruption. Do you get? So if you have a major market disruption, occasionally there will be market disruptions. So what do? You need to have a cash power. For somebody like me, I usually don't have cash at the bank. I mean, my account officers by now they know me. I'm friends with my account officers, and I even try to educate some of them. We talk over time. They constantly ask me, "What are you doing? What are you doing with your money? Why don't you have money?" I have a mutual fund, a dollar denominated asset. To me, that's like cash to me. So I occasionally visit the market to constantly seek value. Once I identify value, I go there, you take the cash from that place, you put it. So that's another strategy to invest. So I constantly rotate my asset. It's called portfolio optimization because every year, if you start your portfolio journey, now beyond stock, probably your portfolio, you have your real estate portfolio, you have your mutual assets. But all these assets to me, I love stock a lot. I mean, trust me. So my larger percentage of my assets is in stocks. Yes. Yes, you heard that right.
Okay.
Yeah. So you constantly rotate these things. And then when the opportunity comes, you follow the opportunity. And how do you identify these things? Still being financially savvy, being economically savvy. You need to know what is happening outside the market. You need to follow what is happening in the country where you live in, or the country you invest in. You need to be interested in the macroeconomic indicators. You need to be interested in all those MPC things, the implication of rate on the market, the implication of rate on probably your project, the implication of rates on I mean, you need to learn about these things. So when you bring all of this knowledge together, you'll be able to make an informed decision. And that is how I've been living my life, honestly, and it has worked for me.
Interesting. Interesting. Now, just more of a routine question. Like, you consistently deliver thoughtful, well researched takes on Twitter. How do you juggle this with your other commitments, work, research, content creation, and all that?
So what I do, honestly, I don't. If you check, I think I started to have followers like 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago because of my busy schedule. Actually, I rarely tweet. I just read and then probably read about tennis more, or yeah, tennis tweet. Or I'm a Real Madrid fan and things like that. And then there are a few guys I follow that I like on Twitter, like Olumide, like Onome, Rufi. They're few smart guys that I watch what they do. I admire what they do. And then there was one particular day I think I replied a tweet and I figured that people started following me. And then it became a commitment for me because they started to ask me questions in my DM. They when I talked about my mentor, because my mentor actually changed my life, honestly, because if I'd not met him, I probably would be investing, but I wouldn't have this kind of knowledge. So they kept requesting for me to be their mentor, and then I figured that I'm actually very busy. I shuttle between IT. I've done some remarkable IT projects in Nigeria. In 2018, I flew the FG 2500E, the securing the security gateway of Nigerian custom. I flew it in from South Africa. I've done
Oh,
some, yes, I've done some crazy IT projects in Nigeria. So, if you go through the airport, you see fingerprints, that's me, the custom desk and all that. So I've done some quite. And then in 2022, I added real estate to what I do. And then I still need time to research. In fact, as a matter of fact, my previous Mac smashed because I was doing research at night because that's when I have time at night. And then I think I slept on it. So it's difficult to juggle between these things, which is why on Twitter, people are asking me to open paid Telegram channel and stuff or WhatsApp group and things. I honestly am a very principled person because I've learned a lot. I don't want to commit to what I can't do or what I won't have time to do. So I make it a point of duty. I promise those guys asking me to be their mentor that okay, I will tweet more. If I tweet my mind, if you read from me often, you should be able to pattern or live your life like me. I talk about delayed gratification. I talk about a lot of things on my page. So what I do now, I create because of my followers now. So uh, I create a note on my phone. I called it my thoughts. So occasionally, when I remember any mistake I had made in the past or how I adjusted in the past, I will put it down.
Okay.
I'll put it down. So I that is what I do now. So I write. In fact, I have a lot of thoughts already that I already put in my notes that I have not put on my page. And then even made a lot of promises to people on Twitter. I've not been able to fulfill it. I promised to even do a video analysis of one financial company to help people understand these things and how, to interpret those numbers and what to look out for. I promised to drop that tomorrow. And now I'm here with you today. I've not done anything. My phone is buzzing. I'm seeing emails. So once I'm off, once I'm off this channel now, I will face that. My security is calling me at my site. I'm sure he wants to
Oh,
have information. Yeah. So I mean, it's crazy, really. I told a friend yesterday that I don't understand how my brain functions, but so Twitter, I try as much as possible to read people who need me to give them a very comprehensive response. I do that at night, you know. And then here's my wife even, talking to me about Twitter, complaining because my phone now at night, probably she's asleep, I'm not asleep, and then she'll tell me, "Go and sleep. You have to sleep now." Because when I got married, my wife knows that I love to invest. She will take my Mac from me at night and tell me to come to the room and sleep because I always want to learn something. I always want to. So, I'm used to it already. It might not be good. I need more sleep. But I'm used to it already. So I always want to learn something. So because I'm now experienced, I really don't have to. For me to invest in a company today, I don't have to do a lot of research any longer because one, we don't even have too many good companies on the exchange. So we keep,
yes.
rotating within those few good companies. And based on my principle, I have my index. There are certain criteria a company will meet before I will start to put money in it. So I currently, I currently have about 20 or 21 companies I invest in on the exchange. So I don't have to do too many like five, no, like 6, 7, 8 years ago, where I would have different windows and tabs, like over 20 tabs open, juggling between them. I really don't do that much again. I only need to go and look at a few things now, you know, and then make my informed decision. So I now sacrifice that time, the time
Okay.
I used to do at night, to look at my Twitter people and then try to reply. I do VN because sometimes I can't type. So
Oh,
I just,
yeah.
yeah, because I don't have the time. So I just tell you, I'll reply you during the day that please just give me time. I'll send you a note probably at night or something. So that's how I manage right now. And then the followers, I think my message resonates with a lot of people. And then I'm surprised that it moved from I think less than 1,000 to in 2 weeks to about over 7,000. And then if it's like a commitment. And then I put out a tweet yesterday because uh, people kept sending me DM messages that they are ready to pay. I should teach them how to invest and things like that. And one, because I don't even have the time to create one channel to be doing all these things. I don't know, maybe in future, but I try to at least do free education for now. Like my tweet is an education. Every of my tweets, I want people to know that every of my tweets are my experience, are things I've experienced. And then it makes sense for you to go and read those things so that you don't make some mistakes. So I told them that you don't have to pay me this because I don't need that kind of commitment right now because I have a lot going on for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I put a tweet out that I'll try and tweet often to yeah, to educate people as much as I can. I will pick companies' financials to analyze them, do a contextual outlook sometimes, when I have the time, or if I see something in the market that I feel people should know, I'll let them know and things like that. So that's what I do for now. But if I hope I'm able to have enough or more time for people because the DM is even crazy. So I have guys like since yesterday. told somebody to text me today in the evening because I know I won't have a lot of time during the day to respond to his questions because I need to send him a VN. I've given him assignments on things to do. He's done it. He's made mistakes. So I need to correct those mistakes. So but I'll be able to do that in the evening. I mean, but
Yeah.
I try. I try.
It's not easy, I particularly understand what you're going through. I also have that kind of experience too because I try to juggle my regular paying job with this podcast. I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you can
Most people don't
imagine.
really
I mean,
understand. Yeah, so I tweet, update people on the market, what's going on in the market.
yeah, because I promised,
I,
sorry,
I
person there. I promised that okay, I was going to. In fact, I would even pick this press code and then still analyze because so that people understand. Even if you are seeing 1,000, go and look at why it's 1,000. So I promised to do a video analysis, and then I didn't know, or in all honesty, I didn't know he was going to get the 500 retweets. I was like, okay, rather than you coming to my DM, let me just do something that you can learn from. And then I put out a tweet that if this gets to 500 retweets, I will make a video analysis. I was thinking it was going to get to 500 like probably maybe next week or weekend. But to my greatest surprise, it was within 24 hours, they got to 500. And then some of my earlier followers, I like those guys. They are young guys. I know a lot of them because, with the type of question someone is asking you, this one is very young. And then it's actually very good that people are getting into the market at a very young age. So,
Good, yeah.
you know,
Because time is more important than
yeah,
any other
time is
thing.
of essence. For someone like me, time is actually the currency I spend. I try to educate people about this money we hold is fiat. It's not the real money. The real money is actually the
Yeah.
time. So the guy, they kept texting me, telling me that the retweet is over 500 now. We are waiting. We are waiting. I sort of feel a bit pressured because I control my life.
Yeah.
Before Twitter, honestly, like I wake up when I want to wake up. I own my companies. I do my thing at my pace. So I looked at this is a commitment now. And then I had to reply one guy that, oh, sorry, I was still at work. And then I had flu, you know,
Oh,
I
sorry about that.
I had flu over the weekend. So I couldn't even really do much because I was on medication till I think Tuesday or Wednesday. So I can't be doing video if I'm not feeling fine and things like that now. So I feel committed already now. You can imagine how it is. So I just
Yes.
because how it is sometimes with you as well. I mean, that's why I mentioned that. But I mean, this tweet. I even told them this morning that this podcast. I told them this morning that the link will be shared. That I'm going to be speaking. I finally agreed to speak to one podcast. Even though there are different messages in my DM for me to come and appear on the podcast and all that. But I agree to you because your message was captivating to me. It's not about money, really. You know, uh, I know people speak for money. Some people, the first message, your message to me, honestly, was really captivating the day I read it. So that's why I agreed to do your podcast. And then I told them I'll make it available to them. At least I'm sure if this is available, they'll be able to learn something from me as well. So I promise I'm going to make a video and then drop it tomorrow. So hopefully I have time to do that today.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, it's going to be available, publicly available. We release a new episode every Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's going to be available. Thank you so much. Before we let you go, because you're a busy guy, and we just want to ask this question:
Go ahead.
who is your favorite tennis player and which NGS stock they remind you of?
So I love a lot of tennis players, but wait, are you asking me for retired players or
Favorite could be retired,
oh,
current, just
oh
one.
okay. Okay, I'm a Roger Federer fan. I love Federer, even though I like a lot of guys like Sampras, like Agassi. Those are guys that graced the beautiful court, of tennis. I love Federer so much. In fact, I had to even I picked a lot of lesson from Roger Federer that this is good for your listeners as well. So let me tell you, I picked consistency from Roger
Mm.
Federer. Yeah, I picked uniqueness, finesse. I I learned. Tennis is such a beautiful game. if you see, you hardly see a tennis player with scandals and negative things. Check.
Mm.
So yeah, so tennis also teaches about life. It's a sport I enjoy, but if you check some sport deeply, they teach you about life, golf, tennis. So it teaches you to be humble, even in victory, and things like that. You learn so many things. I read as well. So there is this particular book, Why We Want You to Be Rich, written by Robert Kiyosaki and Donald Trump. In fact, inside that
Mhm.
book, I read that book in 2005 or six. Now I can't remember. Inside that book, I knew Donald Trump was going to be the United States president one day because he wanted to. He's been talking about it. You can imagine 2000 and something. Sometimes you just put out, plan your vision. I mean, you plan yourself and then you actualize it. But anyway, he had to reference Roger Federer in that book.
Wow.
Yes, and it's a business book. So sometimes I don't just pick people. I don't just pick interest in you that I want to sit down and be watching you for hours. While you hit while you hit the ball. But then I also like your kind of person. So I like for the Roger Federer a lot. And then currently, uh, I like Alcaraz. And then I mean I love Alcaraz. I love Roger Federer. I love Arena Sabalenka. That's a female tennis player. There's a lot of good tennis player, great tennis player that I like so much. But Federer is my favorite.
Oh, that's interesting. And which Nigerian stock do they remind you of?
I never, I'd never touch Wando.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Even if Dangote recommend it himself.
No. So in my thoughts, like I told you, I only tweet about my experience. So in my note, I have a note now that I put. Let me read it to you. Even though
Okay.
I've not put it out there as a tweet. Just hang on a minute. Yes. So my thoughts, because I'm attending to you on the Mac. So let me. Where is that tweet? I said the market punishes me. I still remember, which is why I like to put my thoughts down raw because I feel
Mhm.
it carries more message at the time. So I put it down. Um, I have so many thoughts here, but if I can't find it, anyway, I still remember it that the market punishes me every time I go against my principle.
Ooh.
Yes, I get punished. The market punishes me every time I go against my principle.
Wow.
Yes. So that's the reason why I won't touch your handle because I touched it briefly when it started to move. I can't remember. Okay, last year, when they came with the reforms, the acquisition, the noise, and then everybody, because in my stockbroking firm, to the glory of God, I mean, the head of IT reached out to me sometimes uh, last year that how do I just do it? That he's been following what I buy, that they go to check. He was just giving me commendation that in the house that he especially he checks what I buy. He follows it, and he was telling me about Wando. He was the one telling me about Wando that day. I said, I said I will never buy this stock. He said this stock is going to 500 naira. They are doing this, they are doing that. I said, okay, I need time as usual. I want to research. So I started to check. I checked that the loan they took was a senior secured loan. A lot of investors or a lot of people who are in the market, they don't know what that means. I know. So it's they took a dangerous loan. That's a dangerous loan because that the risk. I mean, it's crazier. A senior secured loan is a loan that the borrower can take over your assets. It doesn't. The borrower does not need your permission. Doesn't need anything. So anyway, that's what I mean. So they took that loan. I analyzed the impact of that loan on their balance sheet. I mean, it wasn't adding up, to me. So I was like, how would they overcome all this now? But the share price kept going up. Oh. So when he told me it was about 18 naira, just imagine. And then when it got to, I think 60 something or thereabout, and I asked myself, I said, this guy called me 2 weeks ago and said Wando was going to 500 naira. And then Wando kept gaining 10%, 10% every day. And then in my mind, I was like, I'm doing research. What kind of, research you're doing? And then I jumped into it at 65, But every day I kept asking myself, Wando is not a long-term stock for me now. So Tope, why did you buy it? So I kept asking myself. And then one stupid news came, one rubbish news, popped up again, and then the share price, continued to drop. And I told myself, I said, Tope, you see yourself. Why did you go? Why? So I sold at a loss of, I think I bought at 65, I can't remember now, close to 70, then I sold at 60. I just got out of it to have peace of mind. So that when I wake up, I don't want to be asking myself, why are you in this stock? Another one is Japan last year. I lost 500,000. I lost 500,000 in 24 hours. Why? The same guy reached out to me and said, Japan, they are doing blah, 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 blah. They signed with Chinese company. There's a lot of investment coming into the company. They are going to change for the better, blah, 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 blah. Remember, I bought Japan public offer way back, I think 2007 or 8. And so that day, I remember I was even sitting with some of my friends. So some of my friends, of course, we discuss events, they know me. So when he got off the phone and we got talking, I logged in on my phone to the trading portal. I saw that Japan was fully on bid. I think naira something, 70 or 80 kobo. I just laughed it off. And then the following morning, before the market opens for 9:30 actually. Trading start by 10. So I think I got up early in the morning. I checked their numbers. It wasn't adding up for me. Okay, where's the promising story? I tried to add it to put the company in right perspective for me to invest. I couldn't really find anything. So the timing was short. I don't want to miss out. I said, okay, let me put 1 million unit here. So I did. I got it that morning at 3 naira. So
Okay.
after I bought it, I now started, the usual research me. My mind did not leave the company. I needed clarity. So I started to look for materials. So I went on the internet. Who are their partners? What are they doing? Where is the uh, bond or signed agreement with this partner? Then they were raising fund. What are you going to do with it? I couldn't really find anything substantive. 3 days later, I said I need to get out of the stock. That it does not align with my vision. It doesn't align with my portfolio. I don't even want to see such junks in my portfolio actually. So I sold at 2 naira 50 kobo, even though I bought at 5 naira. So
Yeah.
that was like 2 days later. For me, those are signs that every time I go out of my guided principle or what guides me, I lose. So, which is why I won't touch stocks like Oando. And I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry, I won't, because I have great companies. Let me tell you again, let your, listeners, let them hear this. You really don't have to spread a lot. You really don't have to spread your money in so many equities. You only need few good equities to succeed in this market. If you're a long-term investor, you don't need to pack 50, 60 companies, and probably you have like 2,000 units here, you have three. No, that's not how investment work. If you truly believe in a particular equity, you should go in there with all what you have. Yes.
So recently we had a guest. He lives in the UK. He's a registered nurse. You might probably know him on Twitter because he's also active.
Oh, North investor.
Yeah, nurse investor.
He's my
And
friend.
yeah, so he said something similar to what you just said, and
He's waiting.
because
He's a nice guy.
yeah, because I have
Part of
all the
why.
people that I
So I
go
tweet
ahead.
because of him.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because he said he tweeted one day and said he said he went to check my tweet. I don't even know what I was thinking one day. I was trying to make people realize that stock is real. I posted my portfolio, what my portfolio looked like in 2022. Yeah, what it looked like in 2022. So the guy replied that this is an inspiration for me and all of that. And then that was like some weeks back. And then I think 3, 4 days ago, he sent a message again that he had to go back and check that portfolio, that the portfolio is still, a great inspiration to him. I now have to even pray that I wish he surpasses me, in investment, or he has a better portfolio than me. That's my prayer for him. I mean, it's quite touching that people can resonate and then people believe that this thing is actually true. And I too like to even, encourage him further. And then I told him that, okay, that portfolio you're looking at in 2022 is not actually like X6, you know. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so he said less is more. Instead of buying shares in 50 companies,
It's correct.
just focus on the few stocks
Yes, it's
and
correct.
have large quantities in those few stocks.
It's correct.
And you will be happy for yourself. Your future self will thank you.
It's correct.
So
I've
yeah,
done it over time. Don't worry. I don't. Yeah, it's correct.
so there's no need buying 200 units of
No,
shares in all the companies listed on the
no.
stock market.
If you're sure, when you're like, if you're sure of your research, bet. Let me tell you, stock market is like betting. If
Yes.
if you permit me to speak pidgin, probably to be sweeter. If
Yeah,
it's
go
sure for
ahead.
you, if it's sure for you, put your money, or how did they talk? Put your money where your mouth is or
Yeah,
something.
if you shop for it, put your money where your mouth day.
Exactly. Yeah. So you put your money exactly. So, just like that press co last year, I was certain that this is the way to go now. Why do I need to be spreading? Why? In fact, a friend, the first when I was done with my investment case, you know, um, there's this friend I have. He's worked with in an investment house. He left years back to do his masters in oil and gas, so he switched. So I was trying to encourage him to come back into investment. So the first day I bought the Presco, he was beside me. So I told him to buy. He was like, I was like, I've done the research. So I told him the crazy amount of money I was putting into it. He was like, am I sure? I said, yes. Just go in. What are you waiting for? Go in, go in, go in. And then when the stock got to 500, I called him. I said, look at this thing. You should have done this thing when I told you to do it. He said, okay, he would have money at so time. When the price got to six something, I called him, I told him, I said, look at this thing now. There's still opportunity here. It means that I am so sure. Let me tell you, I made another investment case for that same Presco when the price was 750. As a matter of fact, for my mentor, in fact, so my mentor is an HNI, and
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to make a major investment decision in that Presco in March this year. I mean, people will learn from this. And then he reached out to me, and then we started to talk on the phone. There was your opinion about this. I told him what I did there last year. He was shocked that the volume I had. And I was like, okay. Uh, I should check the impact of their consolidation. I should check some things for him. Anyway,
Okay.
because he's a genius. I mean, that's who raised me actually. So he
Oh.
believes in my judgment. Yeah. So because I'm speaking the language he understands. Investment has a vocabulary. So when we
Mm-hmm.
got talking, yeah. So it was like I don't like this company. He made a remark. He said no. He said I like this company, but Nigerian management took over. Blah blah blah. If it's a foreign management, more comfortable. I said okay. Well, as of now, this stock is a 1,000 naira stock. In fact, no, I actually told him when I saw their Q1, yes, that was when he called. I said, this is a 1,500 naira stock. He said, yes, I can munch and even send to you. I think because we had a chat about it. He said he agreed. Oh, yeah, put money. He said, then it's a Nigerian management, blah, 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 blah. I said, sir, go heavy on this thing. He said, okay, I would speak to you. So he called me the following day by 9:30 before the market opens that he's ready to go in. That but he called his stock brokers that they advised him to split his money into two stocks. That because their own valuation for Presco was 568 naira. I don't want to mention the name of the investment house. I mean, it's
Okay.
actually even one of the biggest in Nigeria. Yes, so So I told him that that's about you and I are you know how the game is now.
Yeah,
We've
you know the way
done
we
this
play the
years
game.
ago now. So why are you listening to these people? He said, okay, I'll go with you, Henry, because that's my middle name. Said, okay, I'll go with you. So we agree that okay, don't split it so that you can track this fund. You
Yeah.
know. So he agreed that he was going to put everything in Presco. So every morning, in fact, for throughout that week, because Presco shares is not that liquid, you don't really get large volume on the
Yeah, because they are standing shares. Yeah.
yeah, it's not that large. So every morning I would because the app they use in my house I actually also interface with the IT guy that actually developed the app for them. The guy lives in Canada, and then it's a very solid app. You can see the app has a lot of advantages. So I will log in to check for him the price he will put.
Okay.
That yeah, you need to put your price limit. If you're an experienced person.
Yeah.
So we kept doing that for 1 week, and then the following week he said, Harry, no, I'm not doing price limit again. I have a feeling this company is going to go up. I want to buy at any price available. So anyway, he bought his thing, and then an investment house advised him that Presco was they valued it as 568. Don't worry, I can munch their this thing. I'll send it to you after this conversation.
Okay.
I told him not to listen. Anyway, we both agreed that we're not meant to listen to this guy, which is why, I'm saying this story, which is why it's very important for you to do your own research. Even when you
Yes.
read an analyst forecast, why not go and verify by yourself to know whether it's true or not? And the only way to know is for you to go into the financials to go and find out. I mean, I remember that I was like, let me just chip that into
Yeah, that's fine.
to validate
Ah,
the reason why you have to go and do it yourself.
yes.
Even when that's why I'm scared to advise people. You see, if you advise, it's now left for you to go and verify. Like, just go and check. But people don't want to spend 1, 2, 3 hours on what will change your life.
And it's your money. Like that's the part. That's the part that
A guy
sometimes I
accused me that
get
why am I giving
confused.
my mentor that is a mentor why am I recommending stocks to him? I tried to explain to the guy, he didn't get it. I just left him because I mean my mentor at his level, he
Yeah.
doesn't need to open anything
Yeah.
any longer because if he has trained people like us to be able to read these things and then whether whether I read anything or not, he will make his final decision because at his level, I mean, over 30 years of experience. I mean, people
Yes.
don't value experience in Nigeria. You don't
Yeah.
compare.
They don't.
Experience is
They
something
don't.
that you can't buy. You can't be like me today. My experience in Owando, Dunlop, those are the debt stocks I bought earlier. Starcoms, if you remember, Starcoms they did a private placement and then they now came to the market. They listed for 11 naira or thereabout. If you remember
Yeah.
Starcoms Communication,
Yeah.
we bought those companies and we lost money there. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, today. So I mean, going forward, I figured that I needed to design a strategy and principle that works for me. And his own principle and strategy, which is what I copied and what I developed, is same thing is still operating with till today. So when we pick up sometimes when we vibe over the phone or when we see, when I speak, he knows what I'm saying. If I tell him go and buy this stock, he won't even ask me anything. He will ask me how many million units do I put here. He goes. So some guys will keep asking you questions and then believing that they want to be like you. No, your experience is your journey. You will learn that even if I tell you everything today, you can't learn everything in one day.
Yes.
Patience win the race in the market.
You just took that word patient out of my mouth. That's the next thing
Advise
I
my
wanted to say.
followers not to sell their banking shares. When people are selling, that is when people like us go into the market. I've not been buying shares now. I'm on this place with you. I've not logged into anywhere today. I don't even want to know what is going on in the market. But now,
Yes. Yeah. Because
because
we
I
started. We
just
actually
left the
started this
market.
podcast when the market was about to open,
Yeah,
10 o'clock in the
yeah.
morning. Yeah.
And I tweeted a few days ago that you see, avoid junk stocks. There are stocks going up right now that they have no fundamental to support the price. But when the market euphoria is over, what will that company hold on to? And then
Oh God.
you come back to make noise on the on
On social
social media.
media,
Yeah, that you're losing
there's
money.
is scam.
You know,
It's scam because you allowed yourself to be played. That's why it's only a scam. Because
Exactly.
if you don't give attention to scammers, they're not going to scam you.
Do you get? I mean, I've seen company. I don't want to mention them. I don't know how far this will go. I mean, but you know yourself that this company has nothing. Some company
God
that's
bless you.
some company that's trading at 4 5 naira. They've not released
They
financial result in the last couple of months. And
not
some
even
companies,
not even that. Go to the NGS websites, download the financials. You see,
yeah,
they are running at a loss. What's going on? Is there something going on
some companies will
behind the
make a
scene that we
loss.
don't
I will
know
go there and
of?
buy because I understand why they made a loss. Nigerian Brewery made a loss and MTN. But my mentor and I, we got in. He didn't. I'm not sure if he bought MTN because I pushed him more than 3 times last year to buy MTN, buy MTN. He didn't buy. Instead, he bought Nigerian Breweries. He told me he wasn't even ready to take dividends from Nigerian Breweries for 2 years because he understands the game. It's been good here with you, Mudi. I mean,
All right, thank you so much for your time. You are a busy person, I know, and
yeah, I know I need to go right now.
yeah, we're so happy to have you here, and I hope your followers on Twitter they will benefit from this
Please, I can't wait for this to be out because
if they have the
I
patience
hope this
to
will help
really
everyone.
to listen to this podcast, because it's almost it's close to 2 hours now we've been talking, so
I
that's a
mean, it's an
lot of
amazing
information.
conversation. I really
Yeah.
like to help a lot of people get this knowledge and understanding because someone did this, to me. I remember when I showed, I took my paper rubbish to my mentor. Then that, I was so happy that, I have this, I have this. He laughed. He said, "This is very small." I was like, he said, "Go and buy more." Anytime I talk to him those days, he would tell me, "Go and buy more, go and buy more." I learned the game of volume. So some of my followers, they show me their portfolio. They go to buy maybe 10 units of Presco, 5 units of this, that. So I don't try to advise them that rather than you doing all these things, spreading them in 10 companies, look for 3 good companies, pick considerable good volume that your money can buy there. So that when you experience heavy capital appreciation or dividend payment, it
Mm-hmm.
will be good for you. It is called game of volume. But people don't
Yes.
understand these things. So I learned some of these are part of things I learned early. It got to a point when the market tanked then, and I ran back to my mentor because let me tell you again, before you go, this is another important thing. Since I met my mentor, I have lived 10 times below my means. And two, I have invested 80% of my earnings into the market. Yes. Now, when I started, when the market tanked, when the market crashed, it wasn't, in fact, not that the market tanked, the market actually crashed. I ran to his office. Sir, the market is falling. All my shares, they are red. Dunlop is gone, not Equity Assurance, those dead companies. The guy said, "Get out of my office, go and buy more. This is the time to buy. When the price is going down, go and buy, go and buy." I didn't understand it. But all of those lessons now, they are part of my process asset. I now know that, when the market crashed, I mean, anytime the market crashes, it brings opportunity. I only need to go and look at good companies and buy at a ridiculously low price. And then when things pick up, or the market can crash because of the country's economy, because of global economy, because of so many things can,
News. Yes.
pandemic, exactly, so but everything that has made the market crash will go away at some point, and then the market will be back on its feet. And then it is those good companies that will do well. A good example, when the market crashed, during the pandemic, a good example is any bank,
GT Bank.
GT Bank. Another good example is Lafarge. Lafarge traded at 10 naira during the pandemic. I recommended Lafarge and Zenith to a lot of people during the pandemic. I was literally begging on my friends, So, I mean, it's been great being here with you. Hopefully, we get to catch up again. Uh,
Yes, we will love that. Hopefully, next time my colleague Aye will be here. He's another interesting guy, so that we'll have a more robust session. Okay. Thank you so much. I really
uh,
appreciate your time.
thank you too.
Thank you
Thank you
so
too.
much.
All right.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes.
Um, Yeah, and that brings us to the end of another brilliant episode of the Nigerian Investor Podcast, where we don't just chase the returns, we chase the contest. A massive thank you to our guest today, Tope Adu, for bringing the clarity, the strategy, and yes, the calm that every Nigerian investor needs in today's market storm. The market is bullish right now. A lot of people are getting carried away. You just have to place value in whatever you
Yeah,
do.
don't follow the noise.
Yeah,
Constantly check. Does it align? Check for value. Look for value. In
yes.
equity, you want to put your money in. Look for value. Seek value. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Tope. We appreciate you. Continue to teach, lead, simplify investing for everyday Nigeria. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, and anywhere else you get your podcast from. New episode drops every Saturday. So if you've enjoyed this, do us a favor. Head to at TNI Podcaster on Twitter and click that follow button. Until next time, stay consistent, stay curious, and stay invested. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the favorite podcast that brings insight to the Nigerian stock market. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. To get more episodes like this, follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, as well as on our website. All this information is available in the show note below this episode. Until we bring you another episode your way next week. Bye for now. TNI Podcast is executive produced by Mudi. This episode was edited by Rona at Rock Quarry Village Studio.